What did a soldier eat on the morning of the world's largest war? Not a hero's breakfast. Not a feast. Sometimes, nothing at all. Other times, a can of meat so strange, soldiers named it after things they'd rather not remember. Have you ever wondered? What keeps a man marching for 10 miles, after 3 days of cold rain, with enemy guns not far away? Is it courage? Or is it something smaller, simpler, and much stranger? A cracker that could outlast a tank. A chocolate bar designed to taste just bad enough to save your life. And a single sheet of toilet paper for an entire day. Before we settle in tonight, if this channel helps you rest or think or escape, take a quiet moment to like and subscribe. It tells me you want more stories like this. Now, dim the lights. Let the room grow still. And let's quietly answer one question together. What did World War II soldiers actually eat? You open the cardboard box not because you're hungry, but because you have to be. The American K-ration weighs almost nothing in your pack, yet it sits there like a secret you're afraid to learn. Breakfast first. A small can labeled ham and eggs, though nothing inside has ever met a pig or a chicken. You peel the lid back with a bayonet, and the smell hits you, not of food, but of chemistry. Salt. Preservatives. A faint metallic whisper that says asterisk I will keep you alive, but I will not comfort you. Asterisk the texture glistens, smooth in a way meat should never be, and you wonder if somewhere in a laboratory, a man in a white coat actually tasted this and said asterisk good enough for war. Asterisk. You eat it anyway because your stomach has stopped asking questions. For crackers follow, dense enough to survive a mortar blast, and you soften them against the roof of your mouth because biting down might crack a tooth. There is instant coffee that tastes like burned regret, powdered lemon drink that stings your tongue, for cigarettes wrapped in foil, and one single sheet of toilet paper. Just one. For the whole day. You learn quickly what that means. You learn to ration everything: bullets, hope, and the small dignity of wiping yourself clean. Then there is the deration. The chocolate bar that is not chocolate. The army asked for something that would not melt in a tank, not rot in a jungle, and not taste so good that a soldier would eat it before he was truly starving. So they engineered a brown brick so hard you could drive it into frozen ground like a tent stake. You hold it in your palm and feel its weight, and a dark thought passes through you. Asterisk this could stop a bullet. Asterisk some men grate it into hot water and sip the gritty sludge. Others just stare at it, remembering real chocolate from a different life, a life where sweetness meant something other than survival. And yet, late at night in a foxhole, with rain dripping down your collar and the distant thump of artillery, you unwrap that deration. You do not bite it. You let it rest against your thigh, warming slowly, because warmth is the only flavor left. You think about a girl who once gave you a candy bar. You think about your mother's kitchen. And then you take a small, careful bite, and for one terrible second, you taste nothing at all. That is the real secret of the K-ration. It feeds your body, but it starves everything else. And as you wipe your mouth with the back of your hand, you already know, tomorrow will bring another can, another cracker, another quiet surrender. But the Germans, across the muddy field, they had sausage once. Real sausage. Before the sawdust came. Before the sawdust came, the German soldier ate like a king. Not a palace king, but a king of the road, a king of the campfire. His pack held dark rye bread, dense and sour, the kind you tear with your teeth and chew for a long time just to feel the grain. There was sausage too, smoked, spiced, wrapped in paper. And butter. Real butter that softened against the bread and left a yellow stain on his fingers. In the early years of the war, a German soldier could sit by a field kitchen, steam rising from a pot of stew, and believe that victory tasted like boiled potatoes and gravy. He did not know that flavor was a privilege, not a right. Then the supply line stretched. The bread changed first. It became lighter, then grayer, then filled with things that were not flour. Potato starch, barley dust, and finally, sawdust, fine and dry, mixed into the dough because the rye had run out of wheat. You could still call it bread. You could still slice it. But when you put it in your mouth, it did not dissolve. It lingered, like a question you could not answer. Your jaw ached. Your stomach growled louder. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you realized the government was no longer feeding you. It was merely filling you. Then the sausage began to lie. The labels stopped naming the animal. The texture turned soft, then gritty, then strange. Horsemeat appeared. Then turnip paste. Then something that might have been cartilage, ground fine enough to hide. Soldiers joke that the sausages were made from the dreams of starving men. But no one laughed for long. The butter became margarine. The margarine became grease. And the coffee, the sacred, bitter coffee, became *Ersatz star. Roasted acorns. Chicory root. Burned barley. You poured hot water over the brown dust and watched it weep a pale, sad liquid. It smelled like a memory of coffee. It tasted like a promise broken. And yet, you drank it. Because it was hot. Because the Eastern Front was cold enough to freeze the spit in your mouth. Because hunger makes a man forgive almost anything. You sat in the snow, wrapped in a stolen coat, sucking on a piece of sawdust bread dipped in acorn water, and you thought about the sausage you ate in Poland 2 years ago. The way the fat popped against your tongue. The way you smiled. That was the cruelest part of the German ration. Not the hunger. The remembering. And as you watched your own breath freeze and fall, you knew the British, somewhere in their muddy trench, were boiling water for tea. Real tea. Or something close enough to hope. Something close enough to hope. That is what the British called tea. Not the tea of London drawing rooms, with china cups and silver spoons. No. This was trench tea. Boiled in a dented mess tin over a fire made of wet wood and desperation. The water came from a shell hole, muddy and faintly green. The leaves were rationed, a pinch per man, brewed and rebrewed until the color was the pale brown of a tired memory. But it was hot. And hot meant you were still alive. The British soldier did not fight for king and country alone. He fought for the next cup. He fought for the small ritual of pouring something warm down his throat while the world outside was cold and sharp and full of things that wanted him dead. Beside the tea sat the hardtack biscuit. A rectangle of flour and water and nothing else, baked until every drop of moisture fled in terror. It had the structural integrity of roofing tile and the flavor of a drywall scrap. You could not bite it. You learned that fast. Instead, you held it between your teeth and let your saliva work for 5 minutes while you stared at the sky and wondered if this was what defeat tasted like. Some men soaked their hardtack in tea until the biscuits softened from armor to leather. Others smashed it with the butt of a rifle and sprinkled the dust into their bully beef. The bully beef. Tinned corned beef that arrived in a flat can with a key that always broke. Inside, a pinkish-brown block of salt and fat and something that might have been a cow once, in a former life, before war made liars of all ingredients. You sliced it cold and chewed slowly because fast chewing released too much salt and made your eyes water. You fried it in a helmet over a flame and watched it sizzle like a confession. You ate it because the alternative was nothing. And yet, late at night, with the rain drumming on your tin hat, you opened another can of bully beef and you felt something strange. Not love. Not hate. Something in between. A familiarity. A quiet understanding that this pink slab of processed animal was the only thing between you and the dark. You spread it on hardtack, poured your lukewarm tea over the top, and ate in silence. Beside you, a man from Manchester lit a cigarette and said nothing. Across the mud, a German soldier was chewing sawdust bread. And somewhere in the Pacific, a Japanese boy was boiling rice in a helmet. The food was different. The hunger was the same. But the British had one thing the others did not. They had tea. And tea, even bad tea, even cold tea, even tea made from leaves stolen from a dead man's pocket, was the last warm thing they would ever surrender. Then came the Japanese. And their rice. And their silence. Then came the Japanese. And their rice. And their silence. The silence was the worst part. A Japanese soldier did not complain when the rice ran low. He did not curse the quartermaster or trade insults with the cook. He simply opened his small metal tin, scooped out a handful of white grains, and chewed. The rice was cold most days, boiled in the morning and carried in a cloth pouch until evening. It stuck to his fingers, pale and sticky, and he ate it slowly because slow eating made the portion last longer. Beside the rice sat a single pickled plum, red and wrinkled, so sour that your jaw clenched before you bit down, and a sliver of dried fish, hard as leather, salty enough to make you drink 3 times the water. That was the ration. That was the fuel for an empire. But the empire had long legs and short supplies. The jungles of New Guinea and the islands of the Pacific swallowed supply ships whole. Planes dropped rice into clearings, but the enemy found the drops first. Soon the soldier learned that hunger is not a feeling. Hunger is a room with no doors. You wake up inside it. You march inside it. You watch the man next to you fall, and you cannot tell if he was shot or simply empty. The rice became a memory. The plum became a myth. And the dried fish existed only in stories told by older soldiers who had once been full. So the Japanese soldier ate the jungle. He ate roots that tasted like dirt and made his stomach twist. He ate ferns boiled in helmet water until they were soft enough to swallow. He ate grubs, white and wriggling, because protein is protein when you are dying. He learned which leaves were poison and which were merely terrible. He learned to catch lizards with his bare hands, to skin them with his bayonet, to roast them over a fire so small it barely flickered. Some nights he closed his eyes and imagined a bowl of white rice, steaming, untouched, waiting for him in a village he would never see again. And he wondered if the Americans, in their foxholes, were eating chocolate. Real chocolate. The kind that melted. The kind that tasted like home. He did not hate them for it. He was too tired to hate. He simply chewed another grub, swallowed, and kept walking. That was the Japanese ration. Not food. Endurance. And endurance, unlike rice, does not run out. But the war did. And when it ended, the silence remained.